Hey Elizabeth, I have your final exam here. And the first question you missed was question number 16. And this one asked for you to write the equation in standard form. And while you did get it started correctly, you put the right numbers with the right variables, you have it equal to the correct number, there is a rule about standard form that you can't have any fractions. So the difference between your selection and the correct answer is that they actually went through this equation and multiplied everything by 4. That cancels out those fractions. So 1/2 times 4 is 2, so they get 2t, plus 3/4 times 4, 3/4 s times 4. Those 4's cancel, and we get 3s. And 43 and 3/4, we multiply that by 4. If you make it improper first, you'd get 175 over 4. And so 175 over 4 times 4 is 175. So you can see that the difference there between what you selected and the correct answer. Question 18 gives 2 inequalities and asks which graph represents the solution to the system. And so in your selection, you do have the blue line correct, the x plus y is less than or equal to 50. You have that line correct, but it's this line that you have going the opposite direction. So when it's an x, and I use the term equals, I know these are inequalities, but when they're x equals lines, those slopes are undefined. And so those need to be vertical lines like what you see right here versus your selection, which is a horizontal line. So that's really the only difference. If it had been y was greater than or equal to 20, then you would have been correct. So those lines are the lines that go horizontally, while x equals lines are the lines that go up and down or are vertical. Question 22 just asks which statement is true. And so you selected for the function when it's less than 0 over those, you selected that the function is less than 0 between negative 2.5 and negative 0.75, so in between here, and also from negative 0.5 all the way to positive infinity. So that would be all the way this way forever. You can see there's a large portion of this graph in the selection you made that is not less than 0. Those values are all greater than 0. And so the correct answer, let me get the eraser here. So the correct answer is that f of x is greater than 0, which basically just means that the graph goes above the y-axis or the x-axis. From negative infinity, so that's going to be negative infinity all the way up to 2.5, negative 2.5, and then from negative 0.75 all the way to positive 0.75, so in here. So these are the areas on the graph where it is greater than 0 or where the graph is above the x-axis. 24 asks which equation is equivalent to that. Oh goodness, what did they do? Oh, looks like they multiplied everything by 100. Oh, except you forgot this piece right here. So if you're going to multiply everything in an equation by 100, which is what it looks kind of like is what you selected, notice that all of these numbers looks like the decimal has moved 2 times to the right, which is fine, but you also would have to multiply that first term times 100 as well to get negative 100k, which is this option here. So that's the only difference between what you selected and the correct answer, is that every term has to be multiplied by 100, not just the decimals. Okay, then we have 2 more here. You actually did really well on this. It's a lot of questions. 50 questions is a lot. So now we're at question 35. And again, this is another one about standard form. And so really the key here is that we can't have fractions, and decimals can be written as fractions. So what they've done is they've just gone through and multiplied this equation, it looks like, by 4 again. If I write this using fractions, if I try to get rid of, it would be 1/2 p plus 3/4 e equals 3.5. 3.5 is the same as 7/2. I'm going to actually write it in proper to start. And so again, multiplying everything by 4, the 2 cancels with the 4, leaves a 2 up top, so 2p, plus the 4 cancels with the 4, and we get 3e, and then the 2 cancels with the 4 and leaves a 2 up top to multiply by the 7, which is what gives you 14. So 2p plus 3e equals 14. And then I have to scroll back down here to get 37 to pop up. And then it asks which table represents direct variation. So direct variation function is a function that's proportional. Has to go through 0, 0. We don't necessarily see any of those values here. What we want to check is that the y divided by the x is the same all the way down the table. So I'm going to look at your table, and I'm also going to look at the table that is the correct answer. So 10 divided by negative 5.5, 8 divided by negative 4.5, 6 divided by negative 3.5. I'm doing your table first. 4 divided by negative 2.5 and 2 divided by negative 1.5. So as I grab a calculator and I start doing these calculations, what I'm checking is just to see, this is 1.81 repeating. 8 divided by 4.5, oh, it's 1.7 repeating. So right away, this one's not correct because these first two, the ratios are not equivalent. So in the correct answer, 7.5 over 3 is what I'm going to check first. Again, it's the y divided by the x. I don't care so much about the signs right now, but that's 2.5. And so now as I check the rest of the table, 2.5 divided by 1 is 2.5. 5 divided by 2, that's 2.5. 12.5 divided by 5 is also 2.5, and 25 divided by 10 is 2.5. So again, for direct variation, you're checking to make sure that the ratio of y over x is the same all the way down. So those are the questions that you missed on your test. You're welcome to redo it if you want to, but I think usually you just like to see what you missed or why. So just hit me back if you need something else. If not, we'll see you in January.